Howdy. Howdy. I'm Ryan Crocker, recently returned Dean of the Bush School, and I would like to welcome all of you to the 2013 Mosbacher Institute McLane Leadership and Business Award. Tonight, we honor Southwest Airlines CEO Gary Kelly, and very, very delighted to have you here. We all look forward to hearing Mr. Kelly's reflections on leadership and how he and his team built Southwest Airlines into the phenomenal company it is today. It is like no other airline in this country, including the sometimes slightly wacky flight attendants. You know the crushing monotony of the safety announcements over and over and over again. In the unlikely event of a sudden loss of cabin pressure, oxygen masks will drop from the overhead compartment, and so on and so on. On one flight, the flight attendant followed that up with, "The first thing you need to do is stop screaming." And then she concluded her announcement saying that if anyone needed anything, they could just push the flight attendant button over their heads. It isn't really connected to anything, but you might feel better by trying. So, that was actually my first Southwest flight, and I knew I was on a special airline. So, we have some very special guests here this evening. Drayton McLane Jr., CEO of the McLane Group, also one of the great figures in American business countrywide, and whose support makes this award possible. Thank you, Drayton. Our guests of honor, of course, Gary Kelly and his family, some of whom are Aggies, some of whom are not. We have a number of Southwest Airlines employees who are also Aggies, including Bob Jordan, Executive Vice President and Chief Commercial Officer, and now also President of AirTran, and I'm sure he gets a separate salary for each one of those. I think my colleague, Jerry Strausser, Dean of the Mays Business School, is here. Dennis Christensen, Director of the Texas Transportation Institute. Gina Flores, the wife of our very own Congressman Bill Flores. And someone very important to me in the school, Howard Cruze and Mrs. Cruze, longtime supporters. Thank you all. And now, Jim Griffin, if you could please come up and get us formally underway.
Thank you so much, Ryan. Yes, sir. Howdy, folks.
Howdy.
I'm Jim Griffin. I'm the director of the Mosbacher Institute. We're hosting this evening's event, the annual Leadership Award in Business, sponsored by Drayton McLane. Now, you might ask the question, why is a Leadership in Business Award being conferred by the Bush School, which is in the business of training students to work primarily in the government sector or in the nonprofit sector? And there's an important answer to that, and that is that we in the Bush School recognize the importance of our corporate sector. We recognize that our free enterprise system has allowed ordinary people to achieve exceptional things. Because what it's done, it has unleashed the creative genius and the entrepreneurial spirit that pervades this country. And as a professor, I have to admit that I sometimes lose grasp of that. In the process of grading papers and going to meetings and teaching, I think we sometimes never stop to look around and just look at the the tremendous opportunity we as faculty enjoy because of this free enterprise system that provides this for us. And you students, I think that sometimes you may forget as well. I know walking around with your laptop and your iPads and your cell phones, sometimes you might forget that, hey, one of these ordinary people that achieved exceptional things were the reason you're able to be at the Bush School. Those scholarship funds allow you to be here. And so I think it's really good that we kind of pause tonight and we focus on our corporate sector, and we pause to think about its exceptionalism. Now, when you talk about exceptionalism, the name Drayton McLane has to come up. Drayton McLane, it's hard to describe him as ordinary, but what he has done is truly exceptional. And he has, Drayton is an entrepreneur par excellence. I'd hate to sit across the table dealing with Drayton on a business deal. Now, in a personal matter, that's an entirely different matter. Drayton, if you would, join me on the stage a minute. If you'll notice, we talk about ordinary people. Well, Drayton here casts a big shadow. Come over here and so that we can see you in the...
I can tell you're the boss.
Well, I don't know about that.
Are you the boss when you're grading papers?
That's about the only time. And I get a lot of abuse after that. Anyway, Drayton not only casts a big shadow in the business world, but he has done a phenomenal job of, through his philanthropy, of supporting the institutions of higher learning here in Texas. And I think the Bush School, we have certainly been the beneficiary of that largesse. Baylor, Mary Hardin Baylor, and we just so much appreciate you, Drayton, for all you do for all of us. So join me.
Thank you very much.
Well, tonight, Drayton and I, we want to salute an individual and his company, Southwest Airlines, that has done some exceptional things. Today, Southwest Airlines is the nation's largest domestic carrier. Well, that hasn't always been the case. And for us folks with gray hair or no hair, we remember the days when Southwest was flying between Houston Hobby and Dallas Love Field. And from those early beginnings, Southwest has grown phenomenally. And we're the person we honor tonight, I must tell you, he's a Longhorn. Now, but the important point is that, I made this point, that ordinary people can achieve exceptional things. And despite his educational deficit at that other institution, he's overcome it. And he's had a phenomenal career at Southwest Airlines, 27 years. And over that 27-year period, Southwest has grown by a factor of 8 times. That's pretty phenomenal. And he has worked his way up in that airline, starting from the controller's office, chief financial officer, worked his way to executive VP, chief financial officer, executive VP, and in 2004 became the CEO, and in 2008, I believe it was, became the president and chairman of the board. And this individual has, at least over the last 10 years, been the person at the steering mechanism that has allowed Southwest to fly through some pretty choppy weather. And it's amazing that when you look at the record of other airlines and the ones that have gone through bankruptcy, here is an individual and here is a company that's remained profitable over this whole period. And so, this is a wonderful time to hear from an individual who has really achieved some exceptional outcomes. And now I would simply ask our distinguished guest, Gary Kelly, to join us on stage for the presentation.
We're going to have to figure out how
How
we're
we're going to do that. I'm going to put you right here, Gary, because you're going to get the award, not me. And Dean Crocker, I don't know where we're going to put you. All right.
Where I should be.
Okay. And we need to unveil this.
Are we ready right
Yes,
now?
we are ready, and I hope there's something underneath there.
Here we go.
Just to give you an idea of what the inscription says, it says, the McLane Leadership in Business Award is presented to Gary Kelly, 2013. Under Kelly's inspired leadership, Southwest Airlines has built a universal reputation for innovation, value, and reliability, while remaining profitable and an employee-friendly workplace. Kelly demonstrates a profound understanding of the shared values and aspirations of our society, and of the role that excellence in business plays in maintaining the economic, political, and social vitality of our nation. Drayton, would you have any words to add to what I've said?
Well, thank you very much, and it's indeed an honor for you to come here and to receive this award today. And, one of the great assets of America is entrepreneurship, creativity, new products, economy, and a successful nation. And I think Southwest Airlines has really led the way in all of this. And of the things you said, I think we'd add one more. Southwest makes flying fun. They really do. And they make entrepreneurship fun and exciting. So we honored you today by this award. Congratulations, Gary. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Howdy. Howdy. I've worked at Southwest for a long time, and never in a million years did I think I would be standing at Texas A&M getting an award. So I'm extremely honored. And Jim stole my line. So thank you, Jim, for all those kind remarks. But he stole my line about ordinary. Because if ever there was an example of ordinary, you're looking at it right here, including my educational deficit, as argued. But it is really an example of how you can succeed if you're a part of a great cause, if you're a part of a great organization. And so this is a wonderful award, and I really feel like it's the people of Southwest Airlines who won this award. So again, I thank you all very much. Drayton is a business legend, so to get an award with his name on it is just beyond the pale. So again, it's my delight to be here with you all. We've all got our Southwest stories, as Ryan was describing some of the flight attendant announcements that he's heard. And by the way, We don't have a book of those. We don't hand those out. We empower our people to be themselves, get the job done, but it's okay to have fun while you're doing it. And my dad was flying many years ago and told me about his experience. And I'd shared this with our president, Colleen Barrett, at the time, and he said they had a rather hard landing, and the flight attendant came on and said, the captain is happy to report that we did not crash. Now, some of you may not think that's very funny, and certainly we did not, but we just don't want them to go too far with her humor. But it's a pleasure to be here. Jim mentioned that, or Ryan mentioned that many of our Southwest family members are here. So it's my pleasure to be here representing them. I've also got members of my family that are here. While Carol and I aren't Aggies, we got a lot of Aggie blood in the Kelly family. So my brother Roger is master's degree school, or the year of 1985. Kyle, where are you, Kyle? Kyle is a senior and a Ross volunteer. Very, very proud of Kyle. Laurelyn you're a junior, aren't you, sweetie? And she's not a Ross volunteer, but I'm still proud of her. And Delaney is also an Aggie and a freshman, and at the Galveston campus right now, but very, very proud of her. So we're flying the flag here for y'all tonight, and I appreciate them being here. My great friend Robert Lee is a big-time Aggie, and sent me his A&M resume, and oh my goodness gracious, whatever you all can be, he was. It was, I don't know, where are you, Robert? In the 1940s? How old are you? But Robert's a great friend, and it's wonderful him to be here. So, as usual, when you talk in front of people that know you, you can't fib. And so I'm going to endeavor to tell the truth tonight, and also try to be done with my remarks so we can get on with things by about 10 after 6. But I'd like to talk a little bit about leadership, and in particular, I'd like to talk about the importance of purpose in leadership. I consider myself, like I'm sure everybody here, a student. I see leadership more as art than science. I don't consider myself to be a CEO. I consider myself to be a leader, and work really hard at that. By definition, it demands an ability to work with people. If you're going to be successful working with people, you better enjoy people. And that is the wonderful thing about Southwest Airlines, is that we really, really enjoy what we do, but we really enjoy each other. I think that there are some basic things that are essential for leadership success. And I call them the 5 C's, as in C as in cat. The first thing is, in leadership, you've got to be able to communicate. You have to be competent at whatever you do. You've got to have courage. You've got to have character. I think the very most important thing is you have to care. If you use that word, usually that will guide you to the right answer. You have to care about your investors. You have to care about your customers. And you sure better care about your employees. And if you can do that, I think everything will pretty much take care of itself. I started as CEO in 2004. I'd been with Southwest for 18 years, and I still remember what my thoughts were at that point in time. It was a very humbling experience to think that I was going to be responsible for 35,000 at the time employees when I didn't know the majority of the jobs. It was perfectly clear to me at that point that you are so totally dependent upon your people. And just as a matter of survival, you better have the good common sense to take good care of them. But the first thing that I asked our officers to do when we gathered together was to focus on 2 basic things. One was communication, and the other was teamwork. And I really felt like we had opportunities to improve on both. And I think Bob Jordan would agree with me. We have a phenomenal team of leaders who enjoy each other. They're vulnerable with each other. They tell the truth. They admit mistakes. And we're very, very powerful as a team. We've got a famously strong culture at Southwest. It's a very desirable place to work. And there is much that is studied about Southwest Airlines, and I think there are a lot of reasons for that. I think it's that our people are friendly, our people are respectful, our people work very hard, our people enjoy what they do, and then finally, our people are really good at what they do. And I think all of these things are essential. I think the most critical aspect of leadership and the most critical aspect of our success at Southwest is that we have purpose. And we truly believe in what we stand for. As part of that, we know our history. We've got a very rich 42-year history. The parallels here with Texas A&M are so classic. You've got such traditions here, and it just puts you in a position where you can truly be inspired about the future. I want to tell you a quick personal story because I think it reinforces this notion of purpose. Roger and I were born and raised in San Antonio. I'm a lifelong Texan. Never lived anywhere outside of Texas. We have a ranch that's not very far from here in Gonzales County. It's been in our family since 1890. So it was our great-great-grandparents who acquired this property. And the history of it is interesting. It was a component of a League of Land grant under the Spanish system that was done when Texas was still a part of Mexico in 1830. Texas Revolution started right down the road from this place. Our ancestors include Texas Rangers, soldiers in the Civil War. Our great-grandfather helped haul granite to Austin to help build the state capitol. So you can imagine knowing that history and imagine in your mind the beauty of this place on the south side of the Guadalupe River with meadows and trees and lots of wildlife. It's just it's a wonderful, wonderful treasure in our family. You also know that ranching is hard work. And you can only imagine the hard work that our ancestors endured, from droughts and wildfires to the other extreme of thunderstorms and floods. It took commitment, it took resolve, it took devotion, but the joy that you receive from having that and maintaining it for future generations is very, very hard to describe. So I intend to keep that for my family for generations. That is exactly the way our leaders feel about Southwest Airlines. We are so proud of what we've built. There's so much work that was done long before Bob Jordan and I and our other teammates here got here, but it is such a treasure and something that we want to make sure is around for generations. So I see this all as a gift. And to paraphrase from the New Testament, to those whom much is given, much is expected. And President Kennedy used that in an oft-quoted speech in 1962. There's another quote that I love that you football fans will, I think, appreciate. It's another great American, Coach Barry Switzer from the Oklahoma Sooners. And Barry said that some people are born on third base and go through life thinking that they hit a triple. And so I think that's very apropos. And I try not to think that way. I prefer to think that we all stand on the shoulders of those who came before us. I think the reason, again, that the sense of history is important is that it deepens and it clarifies the purpose. So at Southwest, our journey has brought us to a very significant time of transformation. There's a lot of change, and because of 9/11, because of soaring energy prices, because of the Great Recession. And I think in the middle of change, sometimes it confuses people as to where we're going or what our purpose is. And I suppose that that's understandable. But I would argue to you that unlike many, many companies, we're lucky at Southwest. I think our purpose is very, very clear. Regardless of the words that you want to use, we exist to connect our customers to what's important in their lives with friendly and reliable and low-cost air transportation. That was true in 1971, it's true now, and I want that to be true at every point in the future. What's interesting about Southwest is if you go back 42 years, fares were very, very high. Very few people could afford to fly. Only 15% of the population flew at that time. After 42 years, Southwest has changed all of that. Southwest made flying affordable. And we believe we gave America the freedom to fly, that we've democratized the skies. And that's why we carry more customers in the United States than any other airline, including 2 airlines that vie for the largest in the world. We actually are larger than they are in the United States. There's a great book out, if you care to read it, by Patrick Lencioni. We know Patrick very well. I'm always amazed at his insights. He writes books in a parable, very engaging way. He has a book out called The Advantage, and he quotes Southwest in this book, and I want to read you all very quickly what he wrote about us. The reason Southwest Airlines exists is to democratize air travel in America. It believes that flying on airplanes shouldn't be reserved for the wealthy, and that all people should be able to attend a family reunion, go on a vacation, or do business with clients in another city without sacrificing their financial security. That cause informs every decision. They're committed to low prices. My favorite part, to violate that commitment would be to violate their very purpose. So true. It was the Greek philosopher Aristotle who said, where your talents and the needs of the world cross, there lies your calling. Our talent is friendly and reliable and low-cost air service, and we think the world needs that. Southwest is a great place to work because we have such great purpose, and I think that's what brings us the most joy. You have to have more than purpose, and we also have a vision where we want Southwest Airlines to go, and certainly in the near term and certainly for the long term. It needs to be audacious, and it needs to be for us that we want to become the world's most loved and most flown and most profitable airline. Within the next 10 years, we want Southwest to be the favorite airline of North America. And today, we only fly to the 48 states. I want to give you all a very quick, great example of leadership and purpose and vision. President Kennedy in 1961 issued an audacious challenge to the country that America should commit itself to achieving the goal before the decade is out of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to Earth. Now, in 1961, we were losing the space race very badly to the Soviet Union. We had no technological means or plans to be able to fly to the moon. In short, that was a fantasy. But in his speech, he explained why this is important. He said it must be led, space exploration must be led by those who carry a banner of freedom and peace and not weapons of mass destruction. And that our hopes for peace and security require us to make this effort for the good of all men. His vision was clear, the purpose was clear, and obviously it rallied an entire nation. In 1962, the U.S. discovered that the Soviet Union had nuclear missiles in Cuba. And that thrust the country, of course, into the Cuban Missile Crisis. Well, that made very clear the threat that President Kennedy was warning about. Now, if you remember your history, the 1960s continued to be an incredibly difficult decade for our country. There was war, there were riots, there were assassinations, and despite all that, and against all odds, President Kennedy's vision actually happened. After narrowly escaping death on the lunar landing, Commander Neil Armstrong was the first man to land and set foot on the moon in July of 1969. And he became an instant hero and an international sensation. Now, he was an extraordinary person. He was a Navy fighter pilot. He was a fearless civilian test pilot. And the mortality rate among test pilots was very high. He had extraordinary intelligence. He had enormous courage. He had tremendous skills. And despite all of his incredible achievements, he was uncommonly modest. And he famously refused to capitalize on his fame. And I always wondered, and you might too, well, why would somebody be motivated to take such an extraordinary risk? And I think it was very simple. He did it because he loved our country, he believed in the purpose and the vision, and he knew that he had talents that no one else possessed. Neil died last year, and the day of his funeral, by the way, was a full moon. And actually, it was a blue moon, which I thought was pretty extraordinary. But at the time, the Wall Street Journal had the headline, "He was the right man." I don't know if anyone else could have actually landed that lunar module and set foot on the moon without Neil Armstrong. I think that is a wonderful story. And our country has purpose, freedom and peace. President Kennedy had the leadership and the vision. But it took Neil Armstrong, and it took hundreds of thousands of others to bring that to life and actually plant the American flag on the moon. True leadership recognizes that it's the people who get that job done every single day. I think Neil Armstrong perfectly represents the values that we stand for at Southwest Airlines. Fearless warrior spirits, humble servants' hearts, and a great fun-loving attitude. And we call that living the Southwest way. And it's an expectation that we have of every single employee at Southwest Airlines, and certainly every single employee that we bring in. It's simple, it's work hard, it's treat others with respect, it's have fun doing it, and it is fundamental to our culture. Neil was an aerospace pioneer, so too, that's the way I think about the people of Southwest Airlines. They pioneered affordable air travel for all. And like Neil Armstrong, our people know in their confident but humble way that they've got something that the world needs. Like Jim said, we're now America's largest airline, and by far America's leading low-fare airline. We'll serve nearly 100 cities at the end of next year with an all-Boeing fleet of 737s. We fly point to point. We offer open seating. We do that to optimize our aircraft utilization so we can keep our costs low and pass those savings on to our customers. I think we're one of America's best companies to work for because we treat our people right. In an industry that is known for failure, every single major airline that existed a generation ago has gone bankrupt or has gone altogether. Our employees have never suffered a layoff, never suffered a furlough, and in fact, they have the best compensation by far in the airline industry. So we don't get our low cost by not taking good care of our people. We're one of America's safest, most efficient, most cost-effective airlines. We're famous for our operational excellence. We've got very strong balance sheets, very strong earnings. We have an unprecedented string of 40 consecutive years of profits because of great people and low cost. Our people have made that happen because I think they've been steadfast in their devotion to our purpose. And I think if we're to be successful in the future, we'll want to maintain that steady focus on the future. We've got to be committed to serving others, committed to serving our customers, and dedicated to that higher calling. How we choose to serve our customers is how we can really set ourselves apart in our business. Of course, as we all now know, what they couldn't know in 1962, the U.S. did win space. We did secure that peace and freedom. The Soviet Union did back down from the Cuban Missile Crisis. Under President George H.W. Bush, the Berlin Wall actually came down and the Soviet Union collapsed. Our country has purpose. Our country had a vision, and that in turn inspired people. And fortunately, it inspired the right people. I think that the essence of leadership is to bring all of these things together, to understand the purpose and then to commit to a vision and then somehow to inspire others with a cause that's greater than themselves, with great ideas and great ideals. And I don't see business leadership any different. Jim Collins' book, Good to Great, writes about the essence of a successful business, and he focuses on three key elements: that you need to be passionate about what you do. Secondly, you need to be the very best at what you choose to do. And then third, and probably the most obvious, is you need to make a profit. But of the three, you need to focus on number one and number two, because number three is really just a byproduct. Now, you all know that I know that we're just an airline. We're not bringing down the Berlin Wall. And I know we're not flying to the moon, but I believe what Aristotle said. And there is a need in the world for the talents that we do have. We've got a passion for customer service. We are very good at operating a wonderful airline, and we have been profitable for 40 consecutive years. So at Southwest Airlines, I feel like our purpose is so crystal clear, and I also feel like it is meaningful. I think more importantly, I think every one of our 46,000 employees knows what our purpose is, and they believe in it, and they're inspired by it. So it's a gift to be at a company like this. And at Southwest Airlines, our leaders expect a lot of ourselves. We believe that it's up to us to make sure that we can serve our people in such a way that they can achieve that purpose and also do it in a way that keeps the Southwest values intact. The fact that I'm here again tonight is very humbling for me. It is very, very special to be recognized by such a great institution like Texas A&M University. And it is wonderful that you all are here tonight to share that with us. And I thank you all for being here, and I thank you all for the honor for Southwest Airlines. Thank you all very much.
Now we're going to have a Q&A session, and we have Dr. Dale Thompson. If you read in your program, Dr. Thompson advises companies on the selection of top management. And his list of Fortune 500 companies is really quite impressive. And his company is a very special company. So at this point, Dale, Gary,
have at it.
have at it.
How do you follow that up? Gary, again, congratulations.
Thank you, Dale.
You know, Gary, I was driving down today and with a colleague, and we were sort of sharing our leadership journeys and sort of how we got to where we were as leaders. And what struck me was that leadership isn't a thing, it's a journey. You know, with lots of touches, lots of things that influence it. Let's peel back a little bit. You talked about leadership, and that you don't see yourself as the CEO, you see yourself as the leader. When did that occur to you that you weren't the controller, you weren't the CFO, you weren't the executive vice president, you weren't the CEO, that your job was really to be the leader?
I love your word. I use the journey imagery a lot, and I think that's so true because we're all on a journey, and all of us are the sort of the sum of a lot of inputs and a lot of different parts and experiences. for whatever reason, I've always admired leaders, and apparently always wanted to be a leader. I'm a big reader. I like biographies, and I especially enjoy American history. Being a Texan and growing up in Texas, oh man, there's a wealth of things to enjoy here too. As I was leading accounting departments and then finance departments, and then even broader as an executive vice president, it was functional, and it was a native area for me. So I think it really was an epiphany when I became CEO. As CFO, you interact a lot with shareholders, board members, other officers, and you're called upon to share information. So I got a lot of practice at that over 15 years as CFO, and had a lot of thoughts about the business and about where Southwest ought to be going and what challenges we faced and how to do that. What was a lot more humbling is to try to figure out the things that I didn't know. And so I think it was very clear for me when I became CEO how dependent I was on other people. And it was, when you have a great, and that's when I really began to appreciate how precious a great organization is. Yeah. Because not all companies are like Southwest, not all universities are like A&M, not all companies are like yours. So I feel very blessed to be a part of an organization like that.
How do people respond to, excuse me, but a bean counter becoming CEO?
Well, that people like to kind of generalize and put you in a compartment, and so I've always resisted that. Yeah. But for the most part, that wasn't much of an issue. At least the officers, we had worked together for so many years, right, and did feel like family. But our officer makeup is very different today. So anytime you change a leader, things are going to change. Right. And some people like that and some people don't. So I'd say that was really more of a challenge than the bean counter aspect. Yeah. But, a CFO at least is so involved with all aspects of the business, you at least move out of being an accountant, if you will, right, to being more of a business person. But that's not proven to be much. But the other thing I love about Southwest is that it's a kind of company that tries to resist pigeonholing people in that way. So at least within the company, that wasn't much of a challenge.
Can you tell us about some of the people that in your career that influenced you as either role models or coaches or mentors that kind of influenced your leadership development? Any stories to tell around those things?
Well, I think everybody here again has their experiences with people that had such an impact on their life. Right. My wife and I, Carol and I, have been in love with each other for 45 years. So, she's had a tremendous influence. Our father, had a tremendous influence on our life and taught us the value of hard work and integrity. I was blessed to have great coaches growing up. I loved playing sports. Mm-hmm. And, for whatever reason, they always believed in me. And I knew they did. Yeah. And that's just a powerful thing when you can convince somebody that you believe in them. Had wonderful people that I went to work for Arthur Young when I graduated from college. And the mentors I had at AY as a very green recruit were tremendous and very patient, made lots of mistakes. Still, they believed in me. Come to Southwest Airlines, and it is a company that, we fly airplanes every day, and they have to be done correctly in a very disciplined way and have to be done safely. So there's a fine line between trying to nurture people and let them make mistakes. Mm-hmm. So there's some things, this is an odd thing for an airline. There's some things that it's okay to learn that way. In other ways, in other areas, we have to have a system that doesn't allow for that. But Southwest, more than any place I've ever been associated with, is very nurturing and one that really wants its people to succeed and allows people to grow by making mistakes. And that was certainly my experience at Southwest. Herb Kelleher, who's a legend like Drayton is. Right. And I worked for Herb directly for 20 years. and had a very, very powerful influence on my life. Saw all the mistakes I made, and still was very encouraging, for me in developing me in my career.
Cool. Earlier today, I was visiting with a CEO of a company who is a name company who's going through a huge turnaround. They've been through 2 previous leaders who were destructive. And I was talking with him, and I was talking with one of their HR people. And the HR person took me aside privately afterwards and said, Dale, what's been different in the last year with this new leader is when we've approached moments of truth, he's acted differently than the others. Becoming CEO 10 years, almost 10 years ago now, can you describe any of those moments of truth for you that you had the big chair and you've been profitable in good times and bad times. You've had labor, mostly good times, but there's been some choppy waters on occasion. Any moments of truth that you can tell us about that you thought were going to really test you as the leader and what you stood for?
First of all, I would say that those moments of truth, it's true. Those things are true.
Yeah.
And you never know how you're going to behave. It's easy to sit on the side and criticize how somebody else did something in World War II as compared to actually being there and trying to do it yourself, with the stakes on the line as they are. I experienced that with my dad, who in those rare instances I thought was magnificent. I tried to do the same thing as a father with our 2 daughters. I experienced the same thing again with Herb Kelleher. I think for a company, the 2 things that I'm the proudest of are September the 11th and the Great Recession. And it goes back to the purpose. I don't see how you can live up to your purpose if you don't take care of your people. So the airline industry, of course, was front and center on September the 11th. Right. The industry was completely grounded. Carol, I lived through her experience where I was in Dallas, she was in Chicago, she couldn't get home. Everybody has their experiences if they were certainly traveling on September the 11th. Well, we vowed right then and there that the last thing that we would do is lay off our employees. And I couldn't promise myself or our other officers, I was CFO at the time, that we wouldn't have to face that. But it would be the last thing that we did. On Saturday was September the 15th. And there was news on CNN that one of our competitors had announced that they were going to lay off 20,000 employees on Saturday, September the 15th. And my first question was, how do they know that today they need to lay off 20,000 employees? And the fact is they didn't. They didn't have to. Right. And actually, as it turned out, and Bob may remember, I think we probably lost money in the month of October. And if you remember, there weren't many people out there flying once it got up and running on Friday the 14th. But we actually made money in the 4th quarter of 2001 without laying off one person. Well, that told me something. It told me something about myself. It told me something about our company, that it wasn't just words on a plaque on the wall, that it was real. And our employees know that. And the same thing happened again in the Great Recession. We were all prepared that we were going to have to ground airplanes to make it through the year. We had never seen a reduction in our business. Even after 9/11, we didn't see the reduction in our business that we saw in 2009. It was a 15% drop in unit revenues. And the 4th quarter of the year is typically one of our worst. We had our best 4th quarter in 2009. And it actually allowed us to be profitable and not be forced to ground airplanes and lay off employees. For us, things have worked out. That may not always be the case, but if we can at least guide our decisions by those kinds of principles, I think that we'll get to the right decision.
You know, small segue here, but on September 11th, I was near the Pentagon.
Well,
and I was in the process of buying a company. And we had to rent a bunch of cars to get people back to their cities. And my office actually faces Love Field. And on the morning that your first flight took off,
yep.
my office was on the 13th floor of that building, and my office faces your runway.
Yes.
And my office had about 50 people in it, crammed in, watching that plane come down the runway. And And I have to tell you, we were actually a little bit scared, but it was such an inspiration to see that Southwest bird come off the runway.
All of our employees lined the fence
Is that right?
and cheered that airplane. So it
Well, we
was a
cheered
very
when it went over our
moving-
building.
And I don't blame you for that one bit.
For many reasons.
Yes.
You were talking earlier today about the business, and remind me, how big was Southwest Airlines when you joined the company?
I joined in '86. We had 60 aircraft, about $600 million in annual revenues.
60 aircraft, 600 million.
Yes.
And then when you became CEO?
I think we had a little over 400 airplanes at that point, and probably about $7 billion in annual revenues.
You know, I think about companies like Hewlett-Packard and some others that were started in garages and have these glorious stories of, you know, entrepreneurship, and there's lots of them, and they're wonderful stories. But many of these companies, in fact, most of these companies have hit choppy waters, and whether it's a Xerox or others. And you know, when I see you speaking up here, and I go, is this the end of the journey, or is this the beginning of the journey? Is this the end of the beginning, or the beginning of the end? You know, and you were talking earlier today about the concept of pivoting. Could you kind of give us some confidence? I fly you all the time. I've earned free tickets on 5 airlines. Most of them are on yours. And
Thank you very much.
Well, and by the way, they do call me by name at the gate. But why should people, we were talking about buying stock earlier today, why should people be buying stock in Southwest today because of what's coming?
Because our best days are ahead. It's much like our country. There's so much to work with.
Mm-hmm.
And if you all don't mind me picking on our competitors a little bit, if we can't beat those clowns, then there's something wrong with us. And actually, I'm not kidding, but the past 42 years have been totally devoted to developing the 48 states.
Yeah.
The past 42 years were mostly focused on short-haul travel, one-hour flight distances. And now the world has changed. Energy prices are much higher.
Right.
And short-haul travel in total, but certainly short-haul travel is very sensitive to the price. Gas prices go up, fares go up, and guess what happens? The traffic shrinks.
Right.
That is our bread and butter. If we had stayed the same, Southwest would probably be 60% smaller today.
Mm-hmm.
So we're pivoting
Mm-hmm.
from being an all short-haul airline, all 48 states, to being better prepared to fly longer and serve long-haul flights, long-haul customers better. So we are creating the capabilities in the company to be able to fly beyond the borders, fly international. And that was my comment in there about our vision for the next decade, or our Vision 2020, is to cover all of North America: Canada, Alaska, Hawaii, the Caribbean, Mexico, Central America, and South America. There are hundreds of airplanes of expansion opportunities there. We're going to have to earn every one of those customers in order to grow. And what I share with our folks is it feels to me like it's 1971 all over again. 1971, we had the whole state of Texas to think about. Then deregulation happened in 1978. We had the whole United States to think about. And now we're preparing ourselves for that next leg up, and it's all in North America. And after that, who knows? All that we can do with the 737, and that's what makes it so exciting.
You know, coming in, people knowing I was going to talk with you this evening, somebody asked me a question to ask you, and that is, it fits right here beautifully, but who drives innovation at Southwest Airlines? Where do these ideas come from, and how do good ideas get through the system? Because you're clearly innovative.
Everybody does. You know, I'd like to, I'm so ordinary, but I'd like to think that, you know, I'm the source of all the ideas, and it's not even close to that. All of our Southwest warriors here tonight are all individual contributors in that way. My favorite example is our new boarding process. Bob Jordan worked on that personally when we rolled that out in 2007. In fact, I'll compliment Bob again. That was the best execution of a coordinated series of changes that were rolled out in 2007 that we have ever done.
Impressive.
And it was all under Bob's leadership. But I think Bob would agree he won't take credit for this idea either. We were we were thinking that a way to improve our boarding process was assigning seats. When we actually talked to our real customers that we thought wanted us to assign seats, they all voted 2-1. No way. We like it just the way you're doing it. And we were a little surprised at that. But we did listen to our customers. I'm very proud of that. So then the question became, well, then how do we improve what is kind of a scrum to something that is more orderly, where we can create more value for our customers as well? And it was one of our agents that came up with the idea to board the process that you see today. And my first reaction was, that's dumb. I didn't quite say it that way. Or maybe Bob I did, I don't know. But the point is that those ideas come from all aspects of the company. And most of the time, our officers believe the real experts are the people who do it every single day. The difficulty for us is how do you harness that energy and unleash that innovation in a way that you can deal with it? So we're just now cranking up another variation of this, but it's called the President's Council. And we're soliciting employees from all across the organization. We'll try to facilitate their idea creation in a way that we can then work on it. And we've done things like this many times in the past, so it's just sort of the latest iteration of that. But our people are a source of our energy and inspiration, and really in every way.
Cool. Maybe one more big topic for us. Many people say that the job of a leader, once he or she becomes CEO, is to build successors. You know, you are the third or fourth CEO of Southwest Airlines?
As our other CEOs like to call, I'm number 5.
You're number 5.
I'm referred to as number 5. Yes.
Okay. I missed a couple in there. But what are you doing to prepare Southwest to be even a better company once you're gone?
Well, that's the true duty of the leader. It's bigger than you, and certainly you would hate to have people in a leadership position who can't stand the thought of the organization succeeding without them.
Right.
That's really awful, and it really needs to be flipped. We work very hard to create opportunities for people to grow within the company, but the company needs them too. I mean, so it's an equal exchange. And so, yeah, absolutely, we work very hard to develop leaders. And Bob Jordan is a great example. Bob is, and Bob doesn't get paid for all of those assignments, by the way. So he's very well paid. But Bob does a great job. But Bob stepped up and took on the role of president of an acquired airline that we bought in 2011. Right. And it was a great opportunity for Bob. It was a great help for me personally, because I had other things that I needed to focus on too. Yep. I think Bob took 25 trips to Atlanta, which is their prime operating location, in 1 year. So you give people opportunities when they occur, and they take great advantage of them. And we have a very deep bench at Southwest.
Yes,
we have people who love the company, and we'll have extraordinary people as our next CEO. So I have no concerns about that.
That's great. Well, I see Jim lurking over here, and I think the reason is because I'm not asked the final question he wants me to ask you tonight, which is he's very concerned. He's just bought this huge ranch up in Montana, and you know, he was upset with Stan Richards, who won this award some time ago, because they've used Holstein instead of a Black Angus cow on the commercials. But he really wants me to ask you, when are you going to start flying into Bozeman?
You know, I knew that question was coming, and I am so grateful that you won us in Montana. I really am. And I'll just invoke Bob Jordan's name one more time. He's in charge of our network planning, and I'm sure he can give you the answer that you want.
Thank you so much, Peter.
Thanks, Dale. It's great to be with you. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Jim. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much, folks. This has been a wonderful evening, and thank you, Gary and Dale.
My pleasure.
Take care.
Thank you all very much.